Hey, what is going on, everybody? East Tactics here, coming at you with another video. And actually, it's a late hour, and I'm in the middle right now of filming a video regarding fixing up my rear end and adding in the M2C rear hinge pin kit. So that'll be a separate video. But this video is actually to clear up any confusion regarding the differences in A-arms between the EXB and the V4. If you have a V4 and you had it for a while and you break an A-arm and you're considering switching over to the EXB A-arms because they're a little bit more beefy, what are the compatibility questions that need to be answered, and what are the things that you need to purchase in order to accommodate for the EXB A-arms? So right now you're looking at a set of V4 A-arms stock, and this right here is the RPM V4 A-arm. This happens to be the rear, okay? So this is the rear EXB A-arm. First and foremost, if you have any questions about the weight differences between these products, let me just kind of get that out of the way. A V4 stock rear A-arm is 1.85 ounces, all right? The weight of RPM A-arms, a lot of people will say they're better, 1.65 ounces. Interesting. There is a little bit more flex that you're going to get from the RPM A-arms, and they are lighter, so keep that in mind. Now, the EXB A-arm, definitely tankier. The weight for an EXB is 2.2 ounces. So definitely heavier, but tankier. Now, next question people have is, can I actually, if I have a V4 and I break an A-arm and I don't want to go with either the stock or the RPM A-arm, can I go ahead and install the EXB A-arms across the board on my V4? And the answer to that question is yes, you can. So this right here is the shock tower for the V4. And if you look at the holes as they line up, for the inner hole on the RPM, the only hole on the stock matches up with the outer hole for EXB. So you can run EXB A-arms on your V4, keeping this shock tower and running it in your classic format, going out to the outer hole. So the EXB A-arms are compatible with the V4 tower. However, if you decide that you want to run the V5 or the EXB shock tower, that changes the game pretty significantly. So you'll notice the ears stick out a ton. And so if you run the EXB rear shock tower, you have no choice, but you have to run your shocks going to the inner hole. If you were to run the EXB shock tower and try to get to this outer hole, then you're improperly setting up and overstretching your shocks. And why would you want to have an EXB shock tower? The EXB shock tower ears do not stick out as far, which makes it less of a peninsula for bending. These things stick out on the V4, and especially with the stock old V4 shock tower. But anytime you have these longer ears, especially if it's the old version, yeah, these are gonna bend really cheap. But if you have M2C's shock tower, the strength of these things are really high, so I consider it to be nearly indestructible. Obviously, you're gonna have more strength from the shorter ears here. Okay. Long story short, if you want to upgrade your V4 to the EXB arms, the V5 arms, you can. Now, the other thing that you need to note, if you are running a V4 and you decide to upgrade your vehicle to the V5 or EXB arms, the placement for your rear sway bar is dramatically different. You do need to replace and buy a different sway bar. You cannot use the V4 sway bar. You still use the same components that hook your sway bar in, but you need to buy a different sway bar that is compatible with the different hole placement. All right, so right here is the rear sway arm for the V4, and you'll notice if I kind of shimmy this thing in here to put it side by side with the front sway bar, you can see got a wider stance here, as well as you can see how much farther it sticks out. So the rear sway bar is actually much larger on the V4, whereas for the V5 and the EXB, they use the same sway bar in the front as in the rear. And now I briefly want to talk about droop screws and the placement of the droop screw hole in relation to the body and how that interacts with the A-arms for the different scenarios, whether you're running EXB, V5, or V4. Like literally the whole reason why people change out their droop screws is because the stock ones, just because it was damaging my chassis. And if you look at, you know, this is basically the stock body. This is the damage it does. Now you'll notice there's two different spots that have been kind of torn away here. That's because the original inner holes are from the stock arms on the V4, and the outer hole or damage is from the RPM A-arms. So there's a different location. And just a quick overview of the location, just in case you guys didn't know. So this right here is the original M2C V4. This is the V4 M2C Goliath chassis. You'll notice it's got the same droop screw, exact same droop screw location as the V4 body, which, you know, by design, of course, that's the way Mitch and Avery designed it, which is great, right? But just so you guys know, let me just set this down like here. All right, so this right here is the V5 M2C Racing V5 chassis, okay? Oh. This is the rear end. This is the rear end of the V4. See the difference? So, believe it or not, the V4 actually has larger wings than the V5. Let me just flip this over like this so you can see it from this side. See how much more meat there is to grab for those droop screws on the V4 chassis? So if you are running the V5 Kraton or the EXB, then it becomes even more of a necessity for you to be running the V5 or the EXB A-arms. If you try to change over to RPM or the V or just the regular stock V4 arms, your droop screws are going to have trouble catching meat. Therefore, another reason why you need to make doubly sure that you don't just drop back to the RPM arms on your EXB or on your V5, okay? So keep that in mind. So I would probably say one of the nice features about the V4 M2C chassis is that these wings are actually bigger. And it's another reason to say that you can actually use the EXB or V5 A-arms on the V4, because not only is the chassis capable of handling the location of the droop screw, but also the V5 and the EXB A-arms will work with the V4 tower. Lastly, if you decide to go with the EXB stuff, you need to buy yourself different pins. You also, and this bag comes with 4, all 4 you're going to need for the rear and the front. You're also going to need to pick up these 2 little cap things for your front A-arms. And if you want to pick up the A-arms, the part number for those, for the rears, those are the rear A-arms for EXB. The tops and the bottoms for the front A-arms. Alright, so basically that answers your questions in regards to, you know, if you want to upgrade your V4 to EXB components. Now, if you're adamant about having that V5 or EXB shock tower, which is a better shock tower, EXB A-arms. That pretty much sums up this video. Stay tuned for future videos. East Tactics, out.
Alright guys, for those of you interested in this part of the video, I did do a small drawing in my last video where I put out the challenge to jump over to 3DRC's website, pick up one of his products, and then I would go ahead and double it up for you. So I'm going to go ahead and do that drawing now, grab the URL to that video, and then paste it here. Alright, so all we need to do now is filter duplicate users. And then if you recall, I did require a specific thing where you have to put the keywords I bought in your comment. So typing that in now, it will search everybody for the words I bought. All right, so go ahead and submit that, and here we go. So the winner is, all right, Brad Den Hartog, if I said that right. Go ahead and look in the description of this video. I'll have my email there. Shoot me an email and we'll just dialogue back and forth a bit to see what I can send your way to hook you up. Thank you so much for supporting 3DRC. And hey guys, look forward to more little drawings like these in the future. I appreciate you guys watching my channel. East Tactics out.